Hello. Boy, so Valve just does not miss. There's absolutely no way that this Steam machine could possibly go wrong.
This thing is dead on arrival in any kind of value sense, practical sense. It is just dead on arrival.
Wait, dead on arrival? Like, how does it happen? Even Valve is disappointed in the Steam machine?
But this is a premium price, even though I wouldn't say it's a premium product.
Not a good value in terms of performance you get for the money. The impression I got back in November was they were maybe trying to hit an $800 price point or something, and that's not, it's not possible.
People were saying if this launched in summer of 2025 for $750 to $800, this would have been a game changer. $1,000 for a device weaker than the base PS5 is crazy work. Yeah, that's a tough sell. On Valve's official unboxing and setup video, people were just saying, I'm glad this video is here so everyone knows what it's actually like to open one. We can only afford to watch this, Valve. One of the coolest pieces of tech I'll never be able to get. Yeah, this is the Steam machine launch page on their website. It is $1,049. Just call it $1,050. And it only has 500 gigs of storage. And only 16 gigabytes of system RAM, 8 gigabytes of VRAM, some of the lowest that you can get out there, and that is literally the bare minimum for modern gaming in 2026. This machine is so hamstrung, and they still have to charge $1,050. I thought they were all supposed to come with a controller. So the Steam machine, when it was announced late 2025, this was supposed to be Steam's huge re-entry into the actual desktop PC market, or it can be used in a living room for a home theater setup. Their entry into mainstream gaming, a console-like experience that you could just recommend to anybody. And this gives you the openness of using Steam and even building up that library and transferring this to other computers and just being able to integrate whatever you want in it. But there has already been a Steam machine, and it has already failed before. But with Valve's approach of trying to make a streamlined console experience while maintaining the open ecosystem of PC, while not subsidizing it, it does make you wonder if this strategy could ever even work, when their largest competitors end up being Sony and Microsoft. And there's still plenty of good things coming out of this that a lot of people aren't even talking about, like the software and how this is going to expand PC gaming into the future. It's not even about the Steam machine, really. I will say one thing, at least Valve didn't lie from the start because they said it was going to be comparable to the price of a custom PC.
They said that while they expect it to be very competitively priced with a PC, that it will be priced like a PC, rather than like a console with games subsidizing the upfront hardware purchase.
And that's exactly what we're seeing. I'm sure Valve is very smart and they know what they're doing, but a part of me does worry if this thing is even going to survive. Because yeah, it's probably going to sell out immediately. A ton of people out there are going to be like, oh my God, Valve box actually announced. But once that first wave goes out, I'm really wondering, where is this Steam machine going to sit? It is clearly worse value than something like a PlayStation 5, for example. This is $580. What's funny is this comes with more storage. It comes with a terabyte. And if you judge some performance data, we'll dig into a little bit more, it's faster too. If you want to include a controller on the Steam machine, you're seriously getting close to double the price of a PS5. And at that price point, the PS5 Pro is cheaper than the cheapest Steam machine. And that comes with the controller. And that would still give you some extra money to buy things like PlayStation Plus so you can play online. So like the value proposition of the Steam machine, especially versus a much more powerful console like the PS5 Pro, is not looking that great. I'm going to say that this isn't all bad news. There is a lot of good things that are coming out about the Steam machine. For the value you're getting here, it's not even that bad in today's market. It's just that today's market really freaking sucks, which does give me a lot of hope that this will be priced better in the future if prices do come down. Yeah, we like Valve and all, but they are not immune to any of this. Gamers Nexus had a little interview with some Valve engineers, and they said that they had barely any bargaining power to get better prices on memory. They're a small fish in this pond.
Were you able to lock in kind of contracts for memory with the suppliers directly, or did you have to jump through a bunch of hoops? Or
look, there's no contract. There's nothing. Yeah. Like they give us a price every month or something, and they say, you can buy that many and it's yes or no. And if we say no, then they never talk to us again.
In fact, Valve has to substitute the physical RAM that's in the Steam machine. It was supposed to be 2 sticks of 8 gigabytes of RAM, so you get better performance because they run in parallel, they run dual channel. That gives you better performance. They're faster together. They're being restricted to only be able to use 1 stick of 16 gigabytes.
Just to be clear, basically, that system memory is 16 gigabytes. Again, to be able to build as many as we can, we have to essentially have some with 1 stick, 16, some with 2 sticks of 8.
It's either that or all the machines that, have 1 slots, we couldn't have shipped them. So I think it's worth the trade-off, but that's definitely, it's a little bit of a weird trade-off because it's like having 1 stick is actually better for some cases because some people might want to upgrade to 32 and now they can just plop down another module.
So they barely can get the memory at all. It's almost comical. And then this has become so much of a mess because the performance of the Steam machine is not great. So if you look at just the specs of it, they show you right here. This is a Zen 4 CPU with 6 cores, 12 threads, an AMD RDNA 3 28CU GPU. So this is pretty similar to the desktop RX 7600, except it has 4 less CPUs, and it's also a mobile variant of it, so its power limit is not nearly as high. This basically equates to the RX 7600M, and then the CPU is kind of like a mobile 7840U. Those aren't necessarily fast components at all, and they draw a relatively low amount of power, especially for a desktop PC. But it would be closer to what you'd call a console PC, where the power shouldn't be as high because you don't want it super loud in your living room or something. So it can make sense. The thing is, they put those components in it, and then they were saying that it could run things at 4K 60 FPS, and they put a little asterisk saying
enabling 4K gaming at 60 frames per second with FSR.
Hey, it's going to be using FSR upscaling. So realistically, you're probably playing upscaled from 1080p up to 4K. But they promise 60 FPS. And from all of the data that I've been seeing, you do not get 60 FPS, even with upscaling at 4K.
You can hit 4K 60, but often with the lowest presets and aggressive upscaling doing most of the work. Now, depending on the game, image quality at 4K with FSR can look good in some games, but other games not so much.
The reason probably why they offered the 4K marketing and everything is because this is a living room console, and most people's TVs nowadays, just judging by how cheap 4K TVs are, most people play out 4K TVs, let's be for real. But even Valve themselves knows that the Steam machine is not 4K. It is not fast enough to do that.
Now, by default, games on the Steam machine are set to run at 1080p, and at that resolution, games run well. They feel smooth and frame rates are good.
Because they default your games out of the box to run at 1080p. So that's literally a quarter of the resolution of what they're advertising.
The biggest issue we ran into was that the resolution for all games is capped to 1920 by 1080 out of the box. Valve told us that, quote, 1080p is the system default game resolution on Steam Machine to ensure a good gameplay experience out of the box and is the resolution we use for Steam Machine verified testing, end quote.
So if you want to run up to 4K, you need to upscale from more like ultra performance mode, which is from 720p up to 4K. Things are just getting ridiculous at this point. This thing is not a 4K console, and realistically, if you're playing this on the TV, go off of what they recommend. I would be playing at 1080p. That makes a lot more sense for this. But it's also based on hardware that is pretty old. This is running on RDNA 3, the generation that started in 2022. And that means because AMD has been pretty weird and annoying about a lot of this stuff, this doesn't have access to some of the newer upscaling techniques that are available on newer RDNA AMD GPUs. And it's now working on Windows on RDNA 3 GPUs, but at the end of the day, this one doesn't have it because it runs SteamOS on Linux. When you really look at some of the reviews and the performance, man, here's the Steam machine. Not really doing too crazy, but here it is, 94-ish FPS. The Arc B580 from Intel is quite a bit faster as well. God, like 30% faster. This exact same Arc B580 pretty much is only $290. Okay, that's just the GPU, still need the whole computer around it, but that is not a bad price. And compiled from Gamers Nexus, it is on average 23% faster. Even the RX 6600 in certain games can beat the Steam machine, and this was only a $180 GPU not that long ago. Like, this is absolutely goofy. And if you're to even compare it to like a different GPU, like the RX 9060 XT, a current generation GPU, literally like 60% faster or something. I don't know. I'm just doing the math in my head, but that card right now, even at inflated prices at the moment, is still not a bad deal. It's like $330. It has the same amount of VRAM at 8 gigabytes. On average, clocking in at 62% faster. And CPU side, just judging by the Gamers Nexus stuff and some other benchmarks that are out there, is not that fast. Yeah, it's technically not that old of a CPU, but its core count and its power is very, very limited. And if you were to compare it out there, a Ryzen 7600, which is technically the same generation as the Steam Machine CPU, but this is a desktop processor with higher power limits. And this is only $147. This is significantly faster than the Steam Machine. And that does make you consider, like, could you just build a computer for the same price? Because yeah, you could put in that 7600, you could put in that RX 9060 XT, even with 16 gigabytes of VRAM instead of 8, so you'd have a lot more flexibility there, and you have better upscaling, you have better ray tracing performance on that GPU than what's in the Steam Machine. You get the same amount of storage, you get the same amount of RAM, you get a decent motherboard with actually faster 2.5 gigabit LAN, so your network connection will be faster. You have a micro ATX case, decent 650 watt power supply. All that costs a bit more, but it's not that different than the Steam Machine at all. This would be a build that I would more look to. If you're looking at this parts list, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to go buy exactly what Vex is putting on the screen here. I didn't check compatibility with all of them, so I'm not sure if they all fit together. Technically compatible, but I don't know if they'll fit together. And the things to consider too, if you're really just after good value on PC, you have so many options, because here's like an RTX 3080 on the used market. It's only $330. This is a graphics card, and it would absolutely destroy what is in the Steam Machine. On the same chart on Resident Evil 4, it's up here at 184 FPS, literally double the Steam Machine. Yeah, it draws a lot more power, but man, is the value there for a card like that? And you get DLSS upscaling, so if you wanted to play at 4K like the Steam Machine claims, at least the upscaling with DLSS would look a lot better. Then also, even though I love SteamOS a lot, it is very smooth and easy to use. The problem is, it's not always smooth.
We also tried running the F1 series of games, including F124, but were unable to get it to run due to the anti-cheat software being incompatible with SteamOS.
And there's been a lot of bugs that I've been seeing from a lot of these reviews that have been going out.
Okay, how do I get rid of this stupid print thing? It's not super obvious.
You accidentally press the actual Steam button.
Steam button. Oh, made it go away. Nice.
There's certain cases where like you quick resume the Steam Machine. That's one of the main selling points about it, is you just click a button, it can start back the game right where you left off.
That doesn't even look like 100 FPS to me.
No,
I wonder if the sleep and resume didn't work properly. Yeah, wait, you're locked at 60 now.
yeah.
What the heck?
Maybe it's worth doing a reboot.
Yeah.
What? Now I'm getting 250 frames.
Okay, that's more like what I would expect. Sometimes when the quick resume borks, it seems to bork more than just your resume speed.
And then you have to almost restart the game or restart the Steam Machine to fix the issue.
There are other signs of ill-preparedness. All the directories and usernames on the Steam Machine contain the word deck, which it isn't, and every time we ping the sensors, we get an error because one of the Steam Deck sensors isn't present because it isn't a Steam Deck. Valve was supposedly always planning to distribute SteamOS on non-deck devices, so they should have built this without those dependencies and artifacts.
So Valve has resorted to making a system like this. In an effort to improve the purchase experience to limit resellers, we're implementing a reservation system. Now, this is a good thing because at least people aren't going to be scalping them as much because you need a Steam profile and they're going to contact you. At that time, we'll close signups and do a one-time randomization to determine the reservation and waitlist order. We'll send the first batch of those starting Monday, June 29th, and we'll continue to go through the reservation queue as units have been made available. So essentially, Valve is using a reservation because they just don't have a ton of these units going out there. They were shipping out or importing 50 tons of consoles, which only really amounts to like a few 100,000, maybe a million units in general. And the Steam Machine was originally meant to only cost $750 according to IGN when they interviewed some engineers and some employees at Valve. This is what they wanted. They did not want a $1,000 console, and they're disappointed in the situation that they've come into. Since this has proven to be a weird time to launch hardware, We thought this would be a good opportunity to share more about how we got here. And then they released this statement below. The Steam Machine, like our other products, is made up of many components that we source from manufacturers around the world. The price at which we sell our hardware is a direct result of the cost of these components. We feel like we had a good understanding of how those costs might change over time when we first started sourcing them for the Steam Machine back in 2023. This planning was not instant. In fact, in Adam Savage's review, they talked to Steam about this. They couldn't really plan for all of this to happen.
One thing that we had in mind from the beginning from Steam Machine is we wanted to be able to build it from parts that already exist for PC. Maybe 2 years ago, year and a half mark, where we're starting to be like, okay, we got to establish those, supply relationships.
That understanding was born from many years of data that we saw in the evolution of PC hardware prices. Primarily that it tends to get cheaper over time as new technology arrives. You would think when they started planning the Steam Machine that the components that they were even using would get cheaper when they wanted to launch it. Over the past year or so, that has changed quickly and significantly. The overall effect is that our original goal for the price of the Steam Machine is no longer viable. So the prices we shared today reflect the state of the world for manufacturing, or more accurately, it reflects the price of components we have secured over the past 6 months. They've been trying to build this up over 6 months. They wanted to launch this in Q1, and clearly we're almost at the end of Q2 at this point. We saw the prices of the Steam Deck just went up like absolutely freaking crazy to the point where the Steam Deck isn't even really viable anymore. The price wasn't the only thing impacted by all this. Availability as well. There were periods where we found that we could not source some of the components at all at any price. So it's not even about them just not being able to afford it or making them at a reasonable price point. They just couldn't even get them. More than anything else, this has impacted the number of units we're able to produce for launch. And you might think too that Valve could just subsidize this whole hardware. And it seems like their stance on this is that they don't want to be exactly the most prominent provider of PC hardware. They don't want to have like a monopoly on PC hardware. We think of the Steam Machine as an extension of PC gaming and not a console. The traditional console model is to sell hardware at a loss to make up the revenue and with subscription services or by selling games that are locked into the hardware. We think that this can make sense for single businesses in the short term, but open ecosystems are the better for the consumer in the long term. PC gaming's history proves this. The openness of PC gaming space has enabled it to be the primary driver of hardware and software innovations for decades. The strength of PC gaming is the availability to play games you want on the hardware that you want. Steam Machine is a solution for these problems, and we think it's a great one, but it's not the only solution, and we don't want it to be. And they think that PC gaming, if they were to subsidize this, that the Steam Machine would be basically the go-to console, that there'd be no other real options in this space. And that kind of kills the whole joy of PC gaming in general. And specifically talk about what other options you do have. Well, thanks to the openness of the PC platform, sorry, my cat is rubbing all over my mic and I can't even see my screen. There are lots of options for devices that allow you to run games natively or stream to your TV. We're continuing to work with enabling SteamOS to be used on more hardware than just ours. In fact, with the newly released build of SteamOS 3.8, you can run the same code on the same operating system as Steam Machine on your living room PC using whatever PC parts that you want. They want it to remain open for everybody. And then honestly, to me, that's a very, very customer first experience. And I think it shows a bit when you look at the Steam Machine itself. So maybe if the prices were to improve for things like RAM in the future, then it is possible that you could get, more RAM in your Steam Machine if you really do want it. And you can upgrade the SSD as well. So you could technically buy the base model at 500 gigabytes, or you can use a micro SD card to expand it as well. And if that's not enough in the future, you could just upgrade the internal SSD, and that one is not that hard to do. I will say too, you can upgrade the SSD in the PlayStation 5 as well, so it's not exactly unique to the Steam Machine. Now, some things you really can't, like the GPU and the CPU are both soldered. Also, Valve has made a really impressive device. Yeah, it costs like $1,000 or something, but at the same time, it is really, really freaking tiny and it's very, very quiet. Valve did have some things to say about engineering the quietness and the smallness of this device.
The majority of the volume of the product is the heatsink, the thermal module, right? We arrived at that design working back from what we wanted in terms of, like the noise level and all that. Being able to combine everything gives us more headroom, which then, means that we don't have to cool as much.
Fan placement led to different qualities of sound, but also different qualities of like how much it can actually cool things.
Like, it is super cute. It's customizable. You got this LED strip. You can swap out the face plates on it. That is pretty cool, and that feels PC-like, even though this is a console-ish kind of experience. They've also done a great job of making it convenient. You just boot it up, and you can just play your games. You click a button, it resumes back where you were. You can plug it into your TV and use HDMI CEC to communicate directly with the TV and turn it on from your console, from your controller while sitting on the couch. That's something that has not been seen in the PC space at all. Also, they have a built-in Steam controller receiver, so you could directly connect the Steam controller to the Steam machine, which does build up the whole Valve ecosystem and the Steam ecosystem. And it's funny, with this console on PC, you could use a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller, or really any controller you want, and they don't have to be super expensive. And the big thing to look forward to with this is exactly what Steam has said here, that they've been working on SteamOS support, the operating system, to run on a bunch of different systems out there. They're improving SteamOS significantly. So if you've seen on a lot of reviews, they've said it's been a very smooth experience.
And it's got a very intuitive UI. There's no Windows 11 slop.
And all the settings are just like laid out. All your games are right there. It's easy to navigate. You still got that desktop mode if you want to dig into it a bit more. Yeah, there is some bugs here and there, but generally speaking, SteamOS is really good, and this is a genuine alternative to Windows if you just want to play games. It's a smooth experience. And SteamOS itself has been running better and better with its compatibility. Now they've got Intel CPUs working. Apparently, too, they're working on getting NVIDIA GPUs working smoothly.
So the compatibility has increased a lot. We support all the latest desktop platforms in terms of CPU side. We're working hard on supporting Intel and NVIDIA GPUs as well, and that's been improving rapidly, but it's still a work in progress.
So that could mean you could have a home theater PC or just any PC. If you wanted to specifically play games, you could have any GPU or any CPU in it, maybe except for the ARM CPUs, and it would, generally speaking, just work. You wouldn't have to worry about drivers nearly as much. Everything would just turn on. You update, like system update every now and then. All your downloads would be there, easy to navigate, smooth experience. You press a button, you play a game, you can easily sleep it, wake it up, all that stuff. But really, Valve has been working on improving the PC experience. I love that shit, because PC has only gotten easier and easier over the years, in my opinion. Things usually work smoothly, except for having a bunch of RGB software. I mean, that shit. Steam has been making things easier to see if a game is going to run on your PC, because it's a huge challenge on PC. You have different kinds of hardwares. Will everybody be able to run this game? How do you handle that? Well, you can handle it by allowing returns to be easy to do as well. The refund policy on Steam is absolutely great. Also, they added an option to leave hardware specs, so what components are in your PC, when you're writing or updating a Steam user review on the Steam store page, which is pretty freaking cool, right? So basically, you go to a game like Monster Hunter Wilds, for example. My cat is now blocking OBS, so I can't really see it. And you can see on this game was known very much so for not running well on a bunch of different computers. And you can see this guy has a high-end PC, a 7800X3D CPU. If they're having a smooth experience with how the game is running, or if they're not having a smooth experience, then you can get an idea how this runs on your computer. And Valve themselves too is building a system to be able to estimate the performance for your PC. They already know what is in your computer. You'll probably be able to opt into this, and they'll be able to use the overlay and the performance overlay in Steam in order to track the performance while you're playing. So for someone else, you could see on the Steam page and see if your computer, what kind of performance that you could get out of the game. And this just makes the experience on PC, the challenge of PC gaming, so much smoother. So Steam is coming a long way to fixing the major problems of PC, making it a smooth experience, but still trying to maintain the open ecosystem. They see a closed ecosystem like a PlayStation or an Xbox, or even in some cases like a Windows. They see that as a dead end, because you're always stuck there and you can't expand your horizons. If you can tackle this issue of tons of different hardware on PC, then it's going to be the best device. And I think that this is where the Steam machine is going. This is also the most consumer-friendly approach too. But this is where we're at. The Steam machine costs over $1,000, which is just absolutely insane. This is just a reflection of what's going on. And Valve did not want it to be like this. Valve wanted to make an affordable piece of hardware, but it's just the situation we're in. Like, hardware isn't really affordable. Things should have been getting cheaper over the years, right? But we're seeing hardware get more and more expensive. It's just getting absolutely stupid. And the Steam machine is getting hit by this absolute ridiculousness. But there's some positive aspects to this. Valve, generally speaking, seems like they would probably reduce the price of the console, though I just don't know if prices are realistically gonna go down anytime soon. And it's worth considering if this Steam machine is ever even possible. If they're gonna make it competitive pricing to a custom-built PC, how will this ever gain market share over a console? It's not like it's a bad product, it just isn't as enticing as possibly building your own PC. So that's why their software stack that they've been building up is probably more important than this device. But more on what they achieved here. Valve has achieved something really cool. SteamOS is coming to more and more devices, and that is a genuine competitor to Microsoft and Windows. Because Microsoft and Windows has been deteriorating, but SteamOS, if you could just throw this on a PC, get good performance, and it's just compatible, handles driver updates, all on the computer, you just don't have to think about it. That sounds really cool. Sounds really cool. It still has some issues with like anti-cheat, some bugs and kinks. I'm sure if it rolls out to more hardware, there'd be more bugs and kinks, but this is a really, really great sign to see what's to come. That's one thing they're really emphasizing because they realize that the Steam machine is not the only PC. They don't want it to be the only PC that you would get. They want it to be more compatible. They've also made PC gaming just a lot more convenient in general, and the Steam machine is a culmination of a lot of these things. Now, if I look at the Steam machine, I look at the price of it and the hardware you're getting, the performance you're getting. Yeah, I'm not recommending that. It's just not good value. To be honest though, I did go ahead and put my shit on the list. So like I am on the list in the lottery for any of them, I guess. Maybe I'll try to test this on my own. Be honest, is it even really that worth it though? Because who's gonna be able to realistically want to afford this? I would personally just build the custom PC because it's faster and it's about the same price. And I think you can even just throw SteamOS on that computer too. But it sucks where we're at. This really was supposed to be like a breakthrough in PC gaming that you could just recommend it to somebody, it'd be easy recommendation, but that's not all what happened. It's not really a surprise. I don't think anybody's surprised. It's sad to see that Valve can't get around this either, and this is just the reality of the situation for consumer hardware. We're getting absolutely f***ed right now. So let me know what you guys think about the Steam machine. Was everybody wrong that it was gonna be good or whatever? It's unfortunately not so great. I don't know if they should subsidize the hardware. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm honestly not sure. I do respect them with their decision on that. Valve does make a lot of money though, but they don't want to just take over the whole PC ecosystem, which I think is probably better for the long term. That's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.